It's not about finding the leading investment or the best insurance policy in the market. It's not about having the most ingenious or complex tax planning strategy or corporate reorganization plan. And it's not about calculating the best risk adjusted rate of return. These may all be integral to a great financial plan, but none of these are a great starting point. Financial planning begins with understanding the client. It's a matter of listening to their story, their hopes, their dreams, and their objectives. What are their number one fears or concerns? What big objectives are coming up? What decisions are looming in the near future? What must their money do today and tomorrow? Only then can you start matching suitable strategies to the client's objectives. This sounds obvious in practice, but in reality, this is where a lot of financial planning goes wrong or sideways. The strategy arrives before the advisor has properly understood the person it is being designed for. It's like going to the emergency room and, in the Canadian reality, waiting for 8 hours before you see a medical professional to get into the triage room and for that medical professional or doctor to prescribe something before diagnosing the problem. Somebody has money in a corporation and they're shown a corporately owned life insurance plan. Somebody receives an inheritance and they're shown an investment portfolio. Someone owns valuable property and they're told how to sell it. Somebody is coming close to retirement and they're shown a retirement income projection. The recommendations might be the best fit and might even be the right, most suitable solution. But how much stress testing has gone into considering other options? I'd love to walk you through 2 financial planning situations that I recently had, and I hope that this can teach us all a lot more than a textbook could. I've changed the names in certain situations to protect the innocent, but the situations remain real. The first involved a woman whose husband had unfortunately passed away unexpectedly. He had operated a small business and spent a lot of his spare time building a house that he had been doing himself. When he passed away, he had left a construction business, equipment, an unfinished property that was too big and too expensive for the widow to handle on her own. His wife just didn't inherit the assets. She inherited the problems and the decisions needed to solve them. And these were problems and decisions that they originally needed both husband and wife to make together. But now she was feeling a bit out of place. Her very capable adult daughter stepped in to help, and suddenly the daughter was dealing with estate, lawyers, accountants, equipment, property, and corporate records, and a mother who was trying to fit the pieces of her puzzle and what that looked like moving forward. By the time the daughter approached me, her family was already wrestling with some very heavy issues. The mother wondered if she had enough money to survive with dignity. How much money would it cost her to live? And how much money was inside and outside of the corporation that the husband left behind in order for her to manage her tax liabilities appropriately? One of the big questions was how long she could afford to remain on the property. And this was a very heavy and difficult question for the widow to ask because she was still grieving. And on paper, the client was going to be just financially fine. There was a lot of money in that corporation and a very large shareholder balance to dispose of. The property was worth a lot of money and there was no mortgage on it. So most of her financial and tax and investment questions were very simple answers. The issues arose because of her emotional and mental well-being. Her husband had built the house and it remained unfinished. It was full of rooms with their personal effects, memories that they were going to create together with their grandchildren. Every room represented a different memory that they were going to create, and she wasn't emotionally ready to sell. It wasn't simply a matter of if the house should have been sold. That answer was inevitable. It was more about how much time she could afford before she had to come to that decision. We needed to respect her emotional reality before the financial reality kicked in. It was likely that once we understood the mathematics and the emotional timeline that she was prepared to handle, that the answer for her financial planning and tax questions would reveal themselves in time. We weren't trying to sell a product or service to her, of course. We were prioritizing what was important. The second conversation involved a very successful business owner. The company generated millions of dollars in annual revenue, and on that revenue had strong profit margins. From the outside, this business looked like it had a substantial cash position. However, a large amount of this company's capital was tied up in accounts receivable. The customers paid, but only eventually. In the meantime, employees wanted to be paid every 2 weeks, and suppliers remained committed to receiving their money in less than 30 to 60 days. The company's operating expenses continued whether invoices had been paid or not. The owner maintained a significantly high cash balance because he felt the business needed it. The owner saw payroll, survival, and payments made. And this particular client had previously been shown a corporately owned life insurance proposal. The strategy backing up the insurance proposal looked too good to be true. Large future values, tax advantages, and a tax-free retirement income. But the recommendation had flaws. For example, the advisor had suggested a policy or strategy without listening to the business owner's concerns. And nobody had stress tested the solution if the business owner decided to sell the company and take a liquidity event. And most egregiously, the advisor had made some serious errors, providing advice in an area that they were not certified in. And the proposal was rife with AI slop, errors, and spelling errors all throughout the presentation. The large premium proposed may have looked manageable given the state of the corporate profits and revenues. But that did not address the concerns of the business owner who wanted to take a large amount of cash position in the event invoices went unpaid. The strategy may have looked and felt fairly sophisticated, but it failed to address the business owner's needs. What the business owner really needed was for someone to understand the business well enough to see if the corporate life insurance policy could coexist with his immediate needs. That required a lot of listening, both to the soft facts, which is the client's concerns and objectives, and the hard facts, which were the math, the science behind the company's position, the financial statements, the personal assets, the corporate assets. And only after that work was completed could we understand if the corporate life insurance fit into the business owner's plans, how it should be funded, and which insurer's contract provided him the most flexibility that he needed. These two clients had almost nothing in common. One was trying to make decisions after losing her husband and owning a property that she was emotionally not ready to sell. The other was considering a short-term business exit and dealing with a large accounts receivable balance. The widow appeared to be asking questions relating to retirement income, but what she was really asking was questions about her own financial security and whether or not she could not be rushed by grief in disposing this principal residence. The business owner, on the other hand, appeared to be asking questions about the suitability of a corporately owned life insurance plan. But what he actually needed was a strategy that didn't impoverish his company or restrict his options, especially when he considered an exit in the near future. Advisors in these situations cannot discover this by merely offering a product or strategy. Rather, you discover this by understanding what the client is trying to protect. And what this means to you as a client is to throw a caution flag up whenever the advisor moves into product or strategy as soon as they understand how much money you have. It's like trying to hit everything with a hammer because the only problem you see is nails. Obviously, it's crucial to have somebody able to act with a high level of competence to see how a product or service can fit into your unique fact pattern. But it's also crucial to make sure that the advisor you're dealing with has a level of empathy and an ability to try and read between the lines. They should also be prepared to not provide you a product or service, to tell you to wait, or to reduce the plan, or maybe to do nothing at all. Because the value of good planning doesn't guarantee that every decision is going to work out perfectly. On the contrary, it's better to understand the consequences of any decision that you do or do not make. No decision can be made in isolation. every decision carries its own consequence and its effect on other parts of your life. For example, a change from paying yourself a T4 management salary to paying yourself a taxable dividend will change your investment deduction limits and therefore could radically change your investment strategy. An update to your tax plan could mean a significant overhaul on your estate plan, or vice versa. And possibly one of the most important questions clients should be asking is not whether strategy A or B is more appropriate, but whether the advisor is able and willing to talk to your other advisors, such as your accountant or lawyer, to make sure that A or B fits within the overall strategy. Because when listening and collaborating become more evident, the solution tends to become more clear. And when listening and collaborating are not done properly, then a very good financial product can become a very big mistake. If you found this video to be helpful in your journey of discovery for economics, history, philosophy, financial literacy, and politics, make sure you hit a like, subscribe, and click that notification bell for upcoming videos.